Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. The name of the student of the speech number is today I'm going to teach you was student listening to speak
फाइन लाजमी देना है आपने बोलने का
Hello to everybody.
Hey there, I'm right here. What's on your mind today?
Everybody, listen me. My first question is what do that really mean to listen actively, and how is active listening different from simply hearing sounds around you?
I see what you're getting at. So, if you're trying to explain something abstract, like a feeling or a concept, it's really helpful to ground it in a concrete example. So, pick a real life situation or a specific image, and then describe how that ties to the feeling or the idea you're conveying. That tends to make it feel more real and relatable. Does that help?
Okay, there's a pretty nice answer. So my next question is, in what ways does listening require effort, connection, and emotional awareness?
Absolutely. So think of a time when you were really anxious before giving a speech. Your heart was pounding, your palms sweaty. By anchoring that feeling to a real event, your audience can almost feel it themselves. And once you name it, like saying, I felt this wave of panic, you make that abstract emotion tangible. So it bridges the gap between thought and feeling.
Okay, there's a pretty nice answer. So my next question, where do meaning many people compare learning with listening, and what are the comforts of their understanding?
Exactly. When you name a feeling or a concept, it gives it a kind of shape, right? And once people can identify it, they can hold on to it, reflect on it, and connect it to their own experiences. So it really deepens the understanding, both for them and for you.
Which is a pretty nice answer. So my next question is, how does listening involve both verbal and non-verbal communication skills?
Yes, that's a great point. Naming something also lets you share it in a way that invites others into the conversation. Suddenly, it's not just a private, intangible burden, it's something you can explore together, ask questions about, and really unpack.
Okay, so it's a pretty nice answer. So my next question, why is listening often considered more different than just speaking?
Yeah, definitely. So, listening is really the counterpart to naming. It's that active process where you let someone's feelings or ideas unfold without rushing to judgment or trying to fix things. So, by naming, you bring clarity, and by listening, you let that clarity settle and grow.
Okay, so it's a pretty nice answer. So my next question is, how does culture influence the way people listen and interpret message?
Absolutely. When people name something, it sort of opens up a new lens for listening. They have a clearer framework for what to tune into. So instead of just hearing noise or confusion, they can really focus on the nuances, which makes listening more intentional and more meaningful.
Okay, there's a pretty nice answer. So my next question is, how can poor listening skills lead in chance and conflict?
Exactly. And once that understanding is there, it's like a bridge. People can move from feeling isolated in their emotions to feeling connected, heard, and validated. So that simple act of naming really becomes a catalyst for deeper, more empathetic connection.
Okay, there's a pretty nice answer. So my next question is, why is listening sometimes more powerful than speaking in communication?
Yeah, that's a really important point. Naming something gives it form and power. It lets you take a vague internal experience and express it outwardly. And when you do that, you invite clarity, you invite shared meaning, and you open up a whole new level of trust in communication.
Okay, so it's pretty nice answer. So my next question is, how does listening contribute to mutual understanding between individuals?
Exactly. So when you name something, it's like shining a light on it. You make it visible. And that visibility gives others a chance to understand, respond, and grow with you. It transforms a private struggle.
Okay, so it's pretty nice answer. My next question is, how does listening strengthen trust and emotional connect and friendship?
Absolutely. When you name something honestly and openly, it signals to others that you're being vulnerable and real. And that vulnerability builds trust. People sense it, they feel safer, and that emotional connection grows. It's a foundation for deeper, more meaningful communication.
Okay, everybody likes and social why is this an stance of maintain healthy romantic relationship?
Yeah, exactly. So when we name something, we give it a kind of integrity, and that honesty fosters a healthier dynamic. People feel like they're really being seen, and that creates a foundation for mutual respect and authenticity in the relationship.
Okay, so everybody likes and social as in what ways does listening help resolve disagreement between family members?
Exactly. So once you name something, it kind of demystifies it. It makes the unknown known, and that reduces fear or avoidance. So people feel more empowered to confront, discuss, and ultimately grow because that emotional weight is shared and named.
Okay, so everybody likes and social how does listen show respect and well-being toward others?
Yes, exactly. And that shared understanding becomes a kind of common ground. Once you both name and acknowledge what's there, you both have a clearer map of where to go next. So the conversation becomes more collaborative and you're no longer navigating alone.
Everybody like what happened to relationship when one person feel
Absolutely. So once you name something, it gives you a starting point for growth. You can recognize patterns, understand your own reactions, and respond with more intention. So naming really becomes a key to personal relational progress.
but everybody like why it's an important when someone has experienced their
Exactly. And that naming doesn't just help in the big moments, it's also really important in everyday communication. By naming even small feelings or ideas, you keep the connection active and you create a habit of openness and trust.
but everybody like such a woman question is how can listen improve communication between parents and children?
Yes, exactly. Because once you name something, it makes the intangible feel tangible. So people can actually speak about what's real for them and it reduces misunderstandings. That clarity in naming really strengthens communication, making it really actionable.
Because everybody likes such a man question why do people feel closer to those who truly listen then?
Exactly. Because once something is named, it stops being a silent wait. It gives you the chance to openly explore it, ask for help, or even just be heard. And that in turn builds a sense of safety and collaboration that really improves the quality of the relationship.
But everybody likes such a man question how does listen contributes to long term relationship stability?
Yes, exactly. When people feel heard and seen, it creates a ripple effect. Over time, that trust and understanding deepens, so the communication stays open and the relationship keeps growing stronger, even through challenges.
Okay, everybody, my next question is in what ways can listening prevent small misunderstandings from become service problem?
Exactly. So when you listen actively, you catch those subtle clues and you avoid jumping to conclusions. By doing that, you can clarify misunderstandings early, solve the real issues, and you keep the whole conversation moving in a productive direction.
Okay, ChatGPT next answer my next question was listen considered one of the most important skills for student to develop.
Absolutely. Listening is really that cornerstone. When people feel genuinely heard, it dissolves defensiveness, opens up empathy, and that's what allows a relationship to really grow and evolve.
Okay, ChatGPT next answer my next question how does listen carefully to teachers improve academic success?
Exactly. When you listen deeply, it gives space for clarity, so both sides really understand each other. And from that shared clarity, you can make better choices, set healthier boundaries, and grow more authentically together.
Okay, Chatgpt, nice and question. What are the long-term effect of good listen habit and school?
Yeah, that's a great point. So if someone doesn't feel listened to, they might withdraw or get defensive. But when they do feel heard, even if you don't fully agree, it builds trust. And that trust is what lets the relationship flourish in the long run.
Okay, Chatgpt, nice and question is how does listen during class students thinking skill?
Exactly. When you listen, it's like giving someone the freedom to be fully themselves. They feel respected, so they're more likely to express themselves openly, and that lets you both think more clearly, collaborate better, and come to more thoughtful decisions together.
Okay, Chatgpt, my next question is how can listen improve note taking and comprehension?
Of course, so to sum it up, naming something and listening deeply work hand in hand. Naming creates clarity, and listening sustains trust and connection. Together, they really form the foundation for deeper, more resilient relationships.
Okay, Chatgpt, my next question, why should a student listen respectfully to options different from their own?
That's a really good point. Respecting differences actually gives people the freedom to be themselves, and it shows that you trust them as individuals. So even if you don't agree, you're still fostering a space where people feel safe, valued, and more willing to engage openly.
Okay, Chatgpt, nice answer. My next question is how does lesson considered to later problem solving in academic setting?
Exactly. When you listen well, you gather all the pieces of the puzzle. You understand perspectives, you catch details you might have missed, and that clarity lets you identify real solutions. Without listening, you're just guessing, but with it, problem solving becomes a real partnership.
Okay, ChatGPT, nice answer. My next question, why is lesson important during online virtual classes?
Yes, exactly. Listening is crucial because it validates each person's experience, and it prevents any one person from dominating or feeling unheard. When everyone is truly listened to, it builds that sense of fairness, belonging, and trust, which is so important for any team or group.
Okay, ChatGPT, my next question is how can development strong listening skills prepare students for future career?
Exactly. When you listen, you not only understand the present moment, but you also build a foundation of trust and clarity that will help you navigate future challenges. So these strong listening skills can be a real asset as you move forward in your career and in life.
Okay, ChatGPT, nice answer. My next question, why is listening created skills for activity leadership?
Absolutely. Listening is one of the most essential leadership skills because it shows you value your team's input, you make informed decisions, and you foster collaboration. Leaders who listen well are trusted, and they create an environment where everyone can thrive.
Okay, ChatGPT, nice answer. My next question, how does a manager's ability to listen impact work more productively?
Exactly. When a manager listens carefully, they can pick up on concerns early, adjust plans if needed, and make sure the team feels heard. That openness leads to better morale, more engagement, and ultimately a stronger, more successful project.
Okay, ChatGPT, my next question, why is listening important in promotion teamwork?
Yes, exactly. Listening creates a sense of psychological safety, which makes team members feel comfortable sharing ideas, taking risks, and collaborating openly. As a result, the team can problem solve more creatively, stay aligned, and really excel together.
Which ChatGPT, my next question is how can listen reduce workplace misunderstanding and mistakes?
Exactly. When people feel truly listened to, they're less likely to bottle up frustrations or misunderstand each other. That proactive understanding reduces conflict, so you spend more time moving forward together instead of getting stuck in avoidable tension.
Okay, ChatGPT, so my next question is why is listening and improvement and customized service roles?
Absolutely. When you listen attentively, you really get to the root of a customer's concern, and that allows you to tailor a solution that truly fits their needs. So it turns a simple service interaction into a deeper, more personalized experience, and that builds long-term loyalty.
Okay, ChatGPT, so my next question why is this important when it change feedback or curiosity?
Exactly. When you listen, it creates a sense of partnership. So people don't just feel like they're being heard, they feel seen and valued. That trust leads to better collaboration, more buy in, and ultimately a stronger, more resilient relationship, even when challenges arise.
Okay, ChatGPT, my next question why is listening improve negative and conflict reduce and work?
Yes, exactly. When you listen carefully, you avoid rushing to conclusions or making assumptions. Instead, you give everyone a chance to fully explain, which means you can respond with more empathy and accuracy. That creates a foundation for real understanding and better outcomes.
Okay, ChatGPT, my next question how does listening negative disparate empathy of compassion?
Exactly. By listening, you reduce the chance of misinterpreting or jumping to conclusions. Instead, people feel fully understood, and that mutual clarity makes the outcome more precise, more respectful, and more effective in the long run.
Okay, ChatGPT, nice answer. My next question why do people feel emotionally supported when someone truly listens to them?
Yes, exactly. When someone truly listens, it sends a powerful signal that their feelings matter. That emotional support can be a lifeline. People feel less alone, more understood, and often more empowered to face their challenges.
But ChatGPT, my next question why is listening important when someone is experiencing grief and hardship?
Absolutely. When you listen without judgment, it builds a bridge between you and the other person. They feel safe to express their deepest fears, and that acceptance gives them courage, comfort, and a sense of real belonging.
But ChatGPT, nice answer. My next question why is listening important and concern and their resetting?
Yes, exactly. Listening helps you pick up on subtle emotional cues, so you don't just react to the surface issue. Instead, you understand the underlying emotions, which allows you to respond with more empathy and depth, ultimately strengthening the connection and trust.
Okay, ChatGPT, nice answer. My next question is how can listen prevent emotionally misunderstanding?
Exactly. When people feel truly listened to, it creates a safe emotional space. They know their feelings matter, and that sense of being understood allows them to be more vulnerable, which deepens trust and strengthens the emotional bond over time.
Okay, ChatGPT, nice answer. My next question is how does listen promote harmony and diverse communities?
Yes, absolutely. When you listen, you create a space where different perspectives can be heard and valued. That openness allows for richer ideas, more creative outcomes, and a deeper sense of inclusion, which strengthens the entire group dynamic.
Okay, ChatGPT, nice answer. My next question why is listening important to mutual culture societies?
Exactly. By listening, you create a bridge that lets people feel respected and understood, which means they can be more open and honest. That openness creates a stronger, more resilient trust, making it easier to work through conflicts and grow together.
Okay, ChatGPT, my next question: why is listening influence and politics, distance, and depending?
Yes, exactly. When you listen without rushing or judging, it creates a sense of equality. Everyone feels like their voice matters. That fosters a more balanced and trusting environment where people can engage as equals, strengthening their connection and collaboration.
Okay, ChatGPT, nice answer. My next question: why is listening important of social justice and equality?
Exactly. Listening gives everyone a chance to be heard, regardless of their role or background. When people know they'll be listened to equally, it levels the playing field, so justice and equality become more attainable.
Okay, ChatGPT, nice answer. My next question: why is listening necessary for effective conflict leadership?
Yes, exactly. Listening is the foundation because it ensures that everyone's perspective is fully considered before a decision is made. Without it, people can feel powerless or unheard. But with listening, you build trust and make sure that the best, most informed actions emerge.
Okay, ChatGPT, nice answer. So my next question is: why is listening important of personal growth and self-important?
Absolutely. When you really listen to yourself or others, you gain clarity about your values, needs, and goals. That self awareness is key to personal growth because it helps you make conscious choices, build confidence, and stay true to yourself.
Okay, ChatGPT, nice answer. So my next question: how does helping efforts become better and maker?
That's a great question. When you listen, it reduces those misunderstandings or internal conflicts, so you don't feel like you're just reacting impulsively. Instead, you give yourself space to respond thoughtfully. And that reflective process leads to clearer communication and a stronger sense of inner peace.
Okay, ChatGPT, my next question: why does listen require and mentally and opens?
Exactly. When you listen, it removes that barrier of defensiveness or isolation, and it creates a genuine invitation for connection. People feel comfortable being vulnerable, so that openness lets trust grow and deeper, more meaningful relationships can form.
Okay, ChatGPT, nice answer. So my next question is: why is listen important in building confidence and self-awareness?
Yes, exactly. When you listen, you validate someone's experience, which builds their confidence because they feel understood. And that confidence empowers them to take on new challenges, express themselves more fully, and grow in their personal or professional life.
Okay, ChatGPT, nice answer. So my next question: what are the most common occurrences that prevent effective listening?
Exactly. Listening helps people feel seen and valued. And that sense of being understood is really motivating. It pushes them to take risks, share their ideas, and step into their own potential, which fuels real growth.
Okay, ChatGPT, nice answer. So my next question: how does technology and social media interfere with listen? ChatGPT, my question is: how does technology and social media interfere with listening skills?
That's a really important point. Technology and social media can create distractions or surface level interactions, so we have to be intentional. When we slow down and focus on truly listening, we cut through that noise and we bring real presence and depth back to our conversations.
Okay, ChatGPT, nice answer. My last question is: how can improve harms meaningful conversation?
Yes, exactly. When you listen actively, you reduce assumptions and you build trust, which means everyone feels safe to share openly. As a result, you avoid conflict escalation, foster mutual respect, and keep the conversation productive and aligned towards your goals.
ChatGPT. So with this was the new ChatGPT. All of us Pakistan Zindabad and Zindabad.